Let's talk about the top 5 movies that deserve sequels. Number 5, we have Divergent. They made 3 movies, then they stopped. There's more material, they haven't finished the story. It's just that the franchise of movies got canceled. It just wasn't as popular as what they were hoping. It wasn't a Harry Potter, it wasn't a Twilight. It wasn't able to ride that success to the top, but it was a good series of movies, pretty solid. And the fact that they didn't finish it, the fact that I enjoyed watching these movies, I think I watched at least one of them in theaters. Just finished Divergent. Nice characters, cool story, different than your typical YA movie. Solid stuff. Just finish it. Explains itself. Let's go. Number 4, Harry freaking Potter. The Pot Man himself. Hermione and friends. Ron Weasley with his ginger kid. I mean, in this final movie, when they time skip ahead and you see them with their kids, first up, don't do something with the kids. Have the kids in it. It's nice to see the kids. It's nice to see the characters older, but we only get a moment of it. Really, we deserved at least an entire new movie. They should do 2 whole movies. Even if there's not books written for what happens of these characters, it'd be nice to see a little bit of what happens to them. At least get like their social dynamics, get a sense of the world. You don't have to overcomplicate it or make it necessarily anywhere as dark as these movies are. Right? They've defeated the main bad guy. That doesn't mean that there still isn't bad guys, right? Throughout the Harry Potter series, Voldemort doesn't get to his full power until like number 5, the end of number 5, start of the 6th movie, was it? Or the 7th? Or then he's like nearly full power. So even Voldemort not being full power anywhere close for most of the franchise, he still has his followers out there. They still have issues to deal with. It doesn't have to be as epic as Voldemort to be a good movie. And it would be a lot nicer to see how these characters are just doing and how this world is doing and what's changed. You could do so many things with it. I just hope they do something with it at some point. So many people want it. Just the amount of people who would like to see more of Harry, Ron, and Hermione doing just about anything is beyond enormous. It would be the biggest release since Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'd love to see it. Make it happen, somebody. Next up, we have one that I talk about a lot as of recent, The Amazing Spider-Man. Please make The Amazing Spider-Man 3. As we see here in Amazing Spider-Man 2, Gwen Stacy tragically doesn't survive this, but other people don't survive things in this movie universe. Other people who know that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Gwen Stacy knows that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is Peter Parker. People who know that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is Peter Parker get pulled into Tom Holland's Spider-Man universe by Doctor Strange's spell, even if they've already been deceased. So Gwen Stacy would be amongst them. Also in Spider-Man No Way Home, for those who haven't seen it, go see it right now. Spoiler alert, stop the video, watch it, and come back. Electro gets brought back to life and then gets sent right back by the end of the movie, of course, having changed his ways, back to Andrew Garfield's universe, along with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and the Lizard Boy. So the thing is, when they find Andrew Garfield and when they find Tobey Maguire, they're just wandering around because they don't understand what's going on. They just know they're in this weird, like, alternative universe. They just got teleported, right? Same with the people who got brought back to life, like Electro or Gwen Stacy. And Gwen Stacy would be doing exactly what Andrew Garfield is doing, exactly what Tobey Maguire is doing, and just wandering around confused. And I think the movie very much implies this. Implies that the redemption that Andrew Garfield is seeking in that movie is to do with this exact scene. And yeah, he gets to save Zendaya from a similar fate, but him doing that, I think, is kind of unlocking the true redemption here, and the fact that a lot of people overlooked. And I feel like the filmmakers intended for people to connect these very obvious dots that, hey, Gwen Stacy would be alive too. She knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. She would have been brought back to life and brought into the MCU along with these others, and she would have been sent back along with the others. You just didn't see her on screen. I think it was actually pretty heavy-handed. I picked it up on my first viewing, and then when I watched the movie a second time, I'm like, wow, they really were like being very straightforward and obvious with this. Like, it's not the most obvious thing in the world, but I think that's totally what they were going for. Gwen Stacy was brought back to life by Doctor Strange, just like Electro, sent back to Andrew Garfield's world, and is there now. She's alive. Perfect material for the Amazing Spider-Man 3. They will be able to deal with just the sheer epic darkness of that in the Amazing Spider-Man 3. They touch on some of the darkness. Andrew Garfield is entirely about darkness and that redemption in Spider-Man No Way Home. It's perfect for Amazing Spider-Man 3. Everyone wants it. You could do so much with it. They did so little with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Let's see it happen. Moving along to my number 2, Jason. Friday the 13th. This classic scene of him taking out some campers. It's in this computer simulation. Obviously this is Jason X, the like Uber Jason, I believe they call him. He's a little different than regular Jason. He gets a power boost, but you wouldn't have to go that far. That's I forget what the time skip is, but they skip ahead considerably in time. So you have like now, like present day, would not be in the timeline where anywhere near where they are in Jason X, right? It'd be way before this. So just make more. Even that like remake that came out in like 2018 or whenever it was, I don't even think that was technically a remake. I think people are wrong that was a remake, because that doesn't have to be a remake. It's just Jason at Camp Crystal Lake taking people out. And yeah, he's a little different. He uses a bow and arrow, but I mean, the guy's been living in a campground for like way beyond what would be a normal, like he's been living there his entire life pretty well. It would make sense that he would pick up skills such as using a bow and arrow. He probably has multiple bow and arrows. He collects weapons, kind of. I think the bow and arrow thing was really, really cool and fitting and awesome. Just makes him even more powerful in a very small way. But I think this series, it does already have a ton of sequels, but it would just be a lot of fun to just do another one and really expand what you can do with it. The guy is a unique villain in that he is just a unstoppable monster. He's low energy Hulk. He's like the Thing. He's like from the Fantastic Four, the Thing. He's just really strong. He's just this unbeatable zombie. He's the king of all zombies. He's the monster zombie, the boss of zombies. Have him, just bring him back. Just, we won't never stop making sequels. You don't have to do it all the time, but at least every like 5 years would be cool. He's a horror icon and so many people's favorite slasher villain. He's incredible. He's the GOAT. Make more. Somebody out there's got to have a good idea. And finally, number 1.
Dr. Evil.
Yeah, it's obvious. Austin Powers is a trilogy of just incredible comedies. So many people quote this so often. If you haven't seen these movies, I'm sure watching them would be a wild experience, because you might not realize it immediately. You might actually think that somehow that you would think that the movie is ripping off just like things that people commonly say, but it's actually very different than that. People are constantly quoting these movies. They're memeing them sometimes with the right. Like, there is just a mountain of quotes from these movies. They're hilarious, excellent comedies. I'm not sure what you would even do in a Austin Powers 4, but it's such a cool like movie world just to have. It's just a James Bond parody, but you can do so much with it. You have these already established characters like Dr. Evil, just a built-in hilarious villain. All of his little, you have his number 2 guy right there. Austin Powers himself is super entertaining.
What do we have?
Sea bass.
Right.
That right there, just tons and tons of quotes. The amount of times I hear people reference the scene where Austin has the that little vehicle, that little car like stuck in a hallway. People love that. People absolutely love that, and I understand why. Epic comedy trilogy. Go out and see it. I'd love to see more. And I think it would be a good career choice for Michael Myers. People want to see him. People love him. This right here. We've all experienced that, where you're driving and somehow you're just incredibly stuck. And it's like, how'd you get in there? Just epic shit. Hope you liked the video. Let me know which movies deserve sequels. So many do. These are just some of my favorites that I want to see more than other sequels.